Hello there. Don't I have some special treats for you today? Enjoy. My wife and I live in a townhouse complex. For anyone outside of my country, it's like a row of houses in a gated community. Our complex has 3 rows with 6 houses and 1 row with 5, need room for that community pool. The 2 evil neighbors in question lived across from us, the one right across from us, Unit 10, and the one to their right, Unit 11. What you need to know is the driveway separating each of the rows. It's wide enough to fit 2 cars okayish. If both cars are traveling slowly, they can pass each other with ease. When they first moved in, we got along okay with them. I even played games with their kids, 3 each per unit, when walking past to my house from the car park. I thought they were good families, as when the kids did something like kick balls at our wall and not stop, I would tell the parents and the kids got punished. I explained this cause, and just one day they went from a nice family to assaulting my wife. We came home from an event, I think the movies, one night. Another neighbor of ours made it to the driveway before us, so he was first. The people in number 10, whom I will now refer to as Psycho Beach and A-hole husband, had their family van parked out front of their house, across from my house. Kids were getting in and out of the van while Psycho, which was keeping an eye on things. Our other neighbor, who lives on our side of the complex right next to us, moved his car slowly past Psycho Harlot and the van first. We will call him Nice Neighbor for now. When Nice Neighbor slowly moved past the van, there was no problem at all. My wife was right behind Nice Neighbor and did the exact same thing, slowly moved her car past in full view of Psycho Beach. The strange thing is that nothing happened. My wife made it past without even a glare. I got out and opened the garage door for her to park the car. We reversed the car into our garage, and I was about to shut the rolling door when Psycho Witch comes screaming over and yelling, accusing us of trying to run over her kids. She barged into our garage right past me and banged on the driver's side window to the point my wife had to roll the window down, or Psycho Beach would have broken it. She started pointing a finger and yelling about how dare my wife try and run over her kids. I want to point out that from the time my wife passed the van till the time Psycho Beach came raging over was 2 minutes. Why didn't she blame Nice Neighbor, and why didn't she say anything as my wife moved the car past the van? It's like the worst delayed reaction in history, and to this day we still don't know the real reason they had it out for my wife and I. If the real reason was running over the kids, Psycho Harlot would have been in Nice Neighbor's face or in my wife's face while she moved the car past the van. My wife felt cornered and scared, and I was about to drag Psycho Harlot out of our garage when Ana's husband came storming over and threatened me to not touch his wife. So I had to leave my wife cornered and defenseless as to hold off A-hole husband in the driveway. After a few minutes of screaming at my wife, Psycho Beach went too far. She slapped my wife hard across the face, and her sharp nails left multiple scratch marks and bleeding. That was the last straw for me as my adrenaline kicked in. I'm not a violent guy. I like to think I'm normally smart by having a policy of the best defense is to not get into a fight in the first place. I stormed over to Psycho Witch, but Ana's husband grabbed my shoulder from behind and demanded to know where I was going. I turned round and gutted the idiot in the stomach with a right hook, then ignored him as he went down. I grabbed Psycho Witch from behind as she was still wailing on my wife and threw her to the ground outside of our garage. I told them to rack off, polite way I said it, and leave us alone. We went inside and called the police to file a report. The police took notes and photos. I even said I punched butthole husband in defense of my wife. I got nothing to hide. The police didn't do much apart from take notes, and that was it. The Jekyll and Hyde 180 they pulled on us, from good neighbors to assaulting my wife, really took us by surprise. In the weeks and months that followed, we got insults, glaring, and threats from Units 10 and 11 as 11 joined their friends in condemning us. Most others in the complex took our side as they either saw or heard what happened. One thing was clear: Units 10 and 11 had to go. We own our house and we ain't up and leaving our lives cause Psycho Beach wants to start drama with us. First I called Body Corporation. They manage the complex, kind of like a commercial HOA, but not a HOA, is not run by residents of the complex but a company. And filed a report about both 10 and 11, showcasing all our documented proof of the harassment and threats towards us. Next I talked to their landlord, who owned 10 and 11 and about 5 other houses in the complex, as he is a good friend. He seemed concerned but not enough to kick them out. Guess he really wants rent payments. So I decided to get rid of them myself. First I found their Wi-Fi network, and before I shut them out of it I got their email address, then locked them out of their own internet connection. I had their phone number from when we were good neighbors and got myself a burner phone. I signed them up for every spam email I could find, ordered takeout to be paid for on delivery every night of the week. I made sure their mailbox was stuffed with advertising. I even had men knocking on the door for promised fun only to leave angry and had anus husband and psycho witch at each other's throats. I made sure their phone was ringing at all hours of the night. They even threw the phone out the window. As a final favor, I had a friend who runs a dog washing business come around pretending they booked her. When they explained they had no dogs and told her to duck off, she finally understood what we'd been dealing with. They kept berating her to leave, throwing in racial slurs. Bad idea. She took out the hose meant to wash the dogs and sprayed Psycho Beach and a-hole husband and inside the house all over their carpet. I think they finally got the hint and moved out only a month later. Number 11 followed them a few weeks after. The entire complex had a huge pool party and celebration. But I wasn't going to let them off that easy. That psycho wailed on my wife for no good reason, prepare to lose it all. From when we were on good terms with Psycho Tramp and Anus Husband, I knew they were on temp visas while trying to apply for permanent residency. I made sure to mention to immigration where they had moved to. Thanks friends in the rental market. And handed over the police report of them assaulting us in our own home for no good reason. Seems Psycho Beach didn't make her own police report, so ours was the be all and end all and was enough to get them kicked out of the country. I know the country they come from, it's hard to get work, why a lot of people from that country move here. I feel zero remorse booting them out, zero, zip, nada. Before anyone asks, I made sure to compensate said takeaway joints so they not out the food they delivered, and my friend the dog cleaner insisted on going over and pretending they called her after hearing of the other things I was doing to them. She wasn't planning on hosing them, just seeing how they would react and getting what she could on camera. Trust me when I say Psycho Beach and a-hole husband got what they deserved for what they said to my friend. Moral of the story: don't start crap with somebody and assault them for no reason. I, Ryan, and my twin brother Sebastian have never ever been close. In fact, he made life hell growing up and my parents didn't help by playing favorites. Getting him better stuff on our birthday, only going to see films he liked at the cinema, and giving him extra money for housework despite us doing the same amount of work. He would always put me down, belittle me, bully me with his friends at school, break my stuff and then blame me, and was just a pain in general. Growing up, the only people I knew to rely on was my older sister Jane, my cousin Kai and best friend Isaac, who all knew what an awful person my brother was. Anyway, cut to when I was 17 and I had my first girlfriend, someone I loved very much. We didn't have sex cause she wanted to wait till her 18th birthday to lose her virginity, but it turns out that she was having an affair with my brother behind my back for half the time we were together and only got caught when it was revealed she was pregnant. I was crushed. She knew how much I hated my brother and she saw some of the awful things he did to me, but she still went and did that. Cheating is bad enough, but to do it with him of all people. I punched him in the face and broke his nose and made him lose a tooth. According to my parents, I'm the one in the wrong, and now we have to help this girl who is carrying my brother's child and have to help support them. My brother then said he had no intention of being a father and told my girlfriend to get an abortion. She then ran out of town and I never saw her again. Don't know if she had the baby or aborted. All I know is that she was gone and my folks were still praising my brother as the golden child. I was still the black sheep and failure as usual. Another year goes past and me and my brother still despise each other, but I had started dating again. Was a long while, but I found someone. Found a boy I liked. I am bisexual and this new guy, Daniel, I had met at college, caught my eye. He was deaf and I studied sign language out of boredom, so we got talking and things just seemed to click. We date, fall in love, bring him to my friend Isaac's party to introduce him to friends, and all feels great. At this point the only one who knew I was bi was Isaac, but one day walking into a cinema holding my boyfriend's hand I bump into my evil twin. He points, laughs and says some homophobic remarks. I tell him to go F himself and I go see a movie with my arm round my boyfriend. When I got home after dropping my boyfriend home, I knew I'd be facing something as I walked through the front door. I saw both my parents on the sofa, my mother crying about how on earth could she have given birth to someone so disgusting. Was it too much to hope she saw the light and was talking about my brother? But nope, she was talking about me and how I'm a stain on our family's name. My father gets up to yell at me, spout homophobic remarks and slurs. At this point I see my brother up the stair case with a poop-eating grin on his face. He then comes down and says he's uncomfortable with sharing a room with a FOD and my folks kick me out there and then. With what little clothes and money I had, I went to Isaac's house and his family took me in, where I stayed for 6 months, actually experiencing familial love and affection. Isaac's mother and stepdad I consider my own parents now. Eventually me, Daniel and Isaac all get a 2-bedroom flat together and all is good for the time being. So cut to December last year, me and my now husband Daniel are married. Isaac was my best man, my sister and cousin Kai walked me down the aisle. I have a brilliant job in graphic design, have my own house by the sea, and life has never been better. However, I got a call from my sister that my brother was in hospital. I hadn't thought about him that much over the 9-year period since I was kicked out, but being reminded of his existence brought up a lot of painful memories for me. I was told by my sister that Sebastian wanted to see me and that it was urgent, so I went to the hospital he was in and met my sister outside the front entrance. I ask her what this is all about, but she doesn't tell me, and that I need to ask my twin. So I arrive to where my brother is, who have my parents at his side, and my folks actually look happy to see me, as if what they did to me hadn't happened, and Sebastian also looked really pleased to see me. It's safe to say something was off. Eventually I ask, "What's going on and why was I even here?" To which my brother tells the family to leave us two alone. He looks so weak, as before he used to intimidate me so much. He told me that he was dying from kidney failure and has been for the past few years, but now he didn't have long left. I knew immediately where this was going. He then said he always regretted that we never got along, at which point I told him no. He looked confused and asked what I was on about, so I simply told him I wasn't going to donate my kidney to save him. He looked as if I had just crap in his food. He then went on about how bad the situation was and that he really was sorry for all the things we did to each other growing up. Like, excuse me? We did to each other? I told him that I just wanted a brother growing up that cared and loved me, who wouldn't try and break me every day for 18 years. He then called in our mom and dad and told them that I wasn't going to give up my kidney. They then started to spout off that I owed them for my existence and that I have a duty to look after family. I asked them where that duty was when they kicked me out of the house, or where that duty was every time my brother gave me a black eye, or their duty was to look after their grandchild when Sebastian decided he didn't want to be a father. I said for all the things he has done, from outing me to having an affair with my girlfriend and abandoning his child, that this was the universe's, and my, way of finally giving back what he dished out to bite him in the arse. I then turned around and walked out of the room, having that be the last time I ever saw Sebastian again. Not sure why they'd want a Fat's kidney anyway. I walked past my sister, who gave me a look. I gave her a look back, who then in turn gave me a look that said I understand. After leaving the hospital, I felt as if a great weight had been taken off my shoulders. I went home and never looked back, pleased with my decision. Now last week I get a call from my sister calling to inform me that Sebastian had died. She asked if I was okay and I said I was, that I didn't really feel anything in all honesty. She said she understood to a degree, as Sebastian hadn't been all that kind to her over the years either. I had my husband and Isaac there to support me. Honestly, at this point Isaac may as well be our adopted child, since he's living with us till this whole situation with the world is over. The next day I was getting calls and texts from family members I hadn't spoken to in years, telling me that I'm going to hell for being a bad son, being a bad brother, and for being a FOD, and that me and my husband don't deserve children. Hubby and I have been looking into adoption and surrogacy. This makes me second guess my choice of not giving my brother my kidney, even in death, is making things harder for me. I did wonder if I was a bad person and if I made the wrong decision, but I knew that if I was in that position I would have been left for dead. Screw him. Other bits of information that may clear things up. His renal failure was from living a hardcore lifestyle of drugs and alcohol. My folks and sister did get themselves tested to see if they're matches, and none of them were. I disowned them of being my family years ago, apart from Jane. So when I got married I took my husband's last name and hyphen it with Isaac's last name, to which his folks were very pleased about. Some family, Kai's folks and my dad's brother, have actually called to see how I'm doing and say they don't judge me for what happened. Others however have continued with said abuse, whom I have now blocked. If he had been a good brother throughout my life, I'd have done it without a second thought. I'd have done the same for Jane, Kai, Isaac and my husband. But I felt he didn't deserve it. It's unlikely I'll ever see my parents again, and I'll make sure my children will never meet them. My revenge to them will be being a better parent than they ever were. At the time I was, M27, a 7-year veteran at large tech corporation, senior designer on the communications team by then. The senior copywriter went on mat leave, leaving a temp in her place. Although irritating in a non-descriptive way, she presented well and seemed competent enough. For later context, she was also an uber dog lover and a staunch and righteous vegan SJW. There were frequent, mutual, and innocent, team pranks. Things like replacing a box of diet cookies with a box of Krispy Kremes or covering the laser on someone's mouse. The "oh you dog, you got me" kind of things. Being desperate for acceptance, new temps started taking things a bit far, and seemed to focus pranks directly towards me. Even after a few subtle reprimands from our manger, she continued. Things like slipping inappropriate photos or comments into a PowerPoint presentation. On the shared drive, I was about to give or fake crying during morning stand-up just to gauge reactions. Her novelty wore off fast. Fast forward to the morning after my birthday. She knew I was going to be hungover. I get to my desk, red-eyed and thirsty as hell. Grabbed my water bottle at my desk, which I always kept full, and started chugging like it was going to save my life. It was straight vodka. At least 2 full swallows before I realized. I go straight for my garbage bin to throw up. The slurry of alphabet soup, at least 6 cans of beer, and God knows what else she put in there, made damn sure I did hurl. I got most of the vodka out, but already being hungover, it made me instantly drunk again. Was not impressed. She came in laughing her brains out, taking full claim. I didn't narc on her, but the story made its rounds to our, and she was given a stern warning. I would have accepted an apology, even remorse, but not a shred. In fact, she started calling me Pukey McGee to literally no one's fanfare. I let it pass for a few weeks, waiting for the attention to die down. Revenge day finally arrived. She always left at 10 a.m. to get a Starbucks. I took this time to plaster lost dog posters anywhere outside the office she might stumble by on her way back. She fell for the bait, asking around, but no one was the wiser. Once she was cozy at her desk, I went to her car to stage a hit-and-run massacre. With a bag of butcher scraps, a liter of fake blood, an old leash and collar, and a bag of fake fur, I went to work. I'd share the pic, but it's long gone. But it was very convincing. Looked like a leash was caught around her rear passenger axle and the dog got clogged and shredded between the tire and wheel well. I left the collar dangling out the back with a particularly generous portion of gore and puddle of blood. It didn't take long before others noticed the lost dog posters or the gory car and put 2 and 2 together. Eventually, the owner of a white so-and-so with license plate such and such, please come to reception, went over the intercom. It's on. It was delicious. She was out in the lot sobbing so hard she was coughing. Carefully placing chunks of bloody, furry, gore into a box. It took her an hour to gather every precious bit, crying the entire time. My theory was that she wanted to return the dog to its owner as best she could before calling the number on the poster. Was ashamed there was no owner or dog, but she was too distraught to realize it was fake. I thought for sure the lack of bones or guts, and obviously fake, sticky stage blood, would be a near instant giveaway, but to my utter shock, it wasn't. A scenario I wasn't expecting but welcomed just the same. It was just assumed the dog owner had printed the wrong number on the poster because the remains never were returned. She had the collar and leash cleaned and posted posters of her own in hopes of finding the owner. Given her reputation, there wasn't much sympathy offered. The righteous vegan dog lover was now a dog killer. And I took every chance I could to remind her of that. She took down all her gaudy dog lover crap off her desk and kept very much to herself for the remainder of her term. Bonus that she even left early, but not sure if I can take credit for that for certain. For those that will likely claim she just liked me and wanted my attention, I assure you, that was not the case. There's way more background than just this story. Even it were, this was in adulthood, not grade school. To make it clear to the ones that thought this was petty revenge for minor inconveniences, here is a list of some of the more inconvenient pranks. Replacing water with vodka was just the last straw, and is tantamount to poisoning, illegal and quite possibly fatal. Medication alone could seal that deal quite quickly. Hiding car keys then leaving, wasted hours of people's lives but was welcome news to cab companies. Pulling fuses from cars is dangerous, again could be fatal. Brake lights? Headlights? Airbags? All very important, you should think, right? Releasing tire pressure, does your office have an air compressor on hand? Lacing others' presentations with profanity and photos could be career-ending. Not inconvenient to have to check every file before sending or presenting. In hindsight, I do regret not coming clean, the believability was not expected and I froze. But the pranks most definitely stopped. When bullies don't get the point from a passive and apathetic authority, the only route is to pop them straight in the nose, good and hard. After this post blew up, I reached out to a mutual friend that also worked there. He said she most definitely did catch on, for which I'm actually glad. The cleaned up collar poster was her return salvo and to garner sympathy. As mentioned, no bones, no guts, and the fabric backing, with printed barcodes, on the fake fur should have been a giveaway to even marginal intelligence. And she wasn't intellectually stupid by any means. What did you think? What would you have done differently? Share your opinions in the comments. And if you enjoyed the stories, slap that like and subscribe button for more of them, and don't forget to support the original writers with an upvote, links are in the description. Peace out, and catch you tomorrow.